Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly unique piece of research. We are going to look closely at Dolores Cannon's compiled transcripts to understand exactly what her hypnotherapy subjects reported about the human death experience. Now, whether you're a skeptic or a firm believer, the sheer consistency of the data she gathered is absolutely thought-provoking, and we're going to break down exactly what she found. What's really wild about this source material is that we're looking entirely at transcripts gathered from hundreds of subjects under deep hypnosis. You see, over decades of practice, Dolores Cannon found that when she regressed people, they would sometimes completely bypass their past lives and instead recount the period in between those lives. You know, the supposed dead state. So our explainer today relies exclusively on her compilation of these highly repetitive, really consistent reports. To make this complex subject a bit more accessible, we've structured our journey into 5 clear stages. 1. Exploring the death experience. 2. The moment of transition. 3. Life reviews and ghosts. 4. Severing the silver cord. And 5. Group departures and greeters.
All right, Section 1, Exploring the Death Experience, the methodology. Let's establish exactly how this unique data was actually collected.
So Cannon operated as a regressionist. That means she used deep trance states to bypass the conscious critical mind. But the really crucial thing to understand here is that she didn't actually set out to study death at all. It happened entirely by accident. Her subjects just spontaneously began describing the period between lives. And the crazy part, no matter their religious beliefs or cultural backgrounds, under deep trance, their accounts of this realm were remarkably identical.
This quote right here really struck me, because it perfectly highlights Cannon's main takeaway. I mean, you'd probably expect a study on death to be dark and terrifying, right? But her neutral compilation of these accounts paints a picture of immense relief and celebration. She notes that the subjects literally never encountered a terrifying void. Instead, they described returning to a very familiar, incredibly welcoming place.
Moving right along to Section 2, the moment of transition, leaving the body. What does it actually feel like to leave your physical form?
Well, one of the most striking case studies in the text is an elderly woman dying of old age. Upon transitioning in her regression, she immediately expressed disgust at her physical body. She looked down at it and was basically just delighted to be free of it. She joked that she felt way too good to be that shriveled. There was absolutely no fear, just a joyful detachment from a shell that had basically worn out.
So the absolutely crucial point here is the extreme contrast Cannon's subjects report. While death looks incredibly painful and traumatic from the outside, from our perspective as the living, the spiritual sensation described by those crossing over is a painless, immediate lifting of weight. The physical body might react to trauma, sure, but the spirit merely observes it, feeling nothing but exhilaration and profound relief.
We see this so clearly in the really tragic case of a 9-year-old girl who drowned during a school picnic back in the 1800s. As she recounted the experience, she noted the terrifying darkness of the water, but then, suddenly, she emerged into the light. She realized in that exact instant that fear is just a physical mechanism. It's a carnality that literally only affects the human mind. Once she was free of the body, her panic just vanished instantly.
Now, it can be pretty hard for us, sitting here in our physical bodies, to truly conceptualize what this transition actually feels like. So Cannon's subjects provided some highly specific analogies to help bridge that gap in our understanding.
These are powerful comparisons directly from the text, and they show that death is experienced simply as a sudden shift in your environment. Imagine pushing vigorously up and bursting out of a dark, murky pool right into bright sunlight. Or suddenly stepping out of a terrifying, thorny forest into a peaceful clearing with soft grass and birds. The subjects explain that dying is as natural and painless as just blinking your eyes and finding yourself entirely safe in a brand new setting.
Okay, Section 3, Life Reviews and Ghosts, Looking Back. What happens right after you realize you've crossed over?
Well, the transcripts note that some individuals actually choose to linger. We often call them ghosts. They stay near the physical plane because of unfinished business or some intense attachment. The text details one woman who hovered around her home as a mist, completely unnoticed by the living. She haunted the space until, honestly, she just grew incredibly bored of being unable to communicate. She finally realized she couldn't accomplish a single thing in an unsolid state. Once that spirit finally decided to move on, she experienced what the text calls a life review. But importantly, this wasn't some traumatic, terrifying judgment day. Not at all.
She described objectively seeing her entire past life laid out like a vibrant tapestry or a beautiful garden. You view the events of your life with the heavy human emotions completely removed. This allows you to peacefully analyze what you learned, honestly, much like flipping through an old scrapbook.
Which brings us to Section 4, Severing the Silver Cord, the Final Cut. What is it that actually physically separates the living from the dead?
According to the subjects, the living and the dead are separated by something called the silver cord. And this isn't just a metaphor. In the energetic sense, the subjects describe it as a very real device. It functions exactly like an umbilical cord that tethers your spirit to your physical shell. The sources map this out as a clear, three-step process. First, the spirit leaves the body. Next, it approaches a barrier of intense light. Actually, it's the exact same light often reported in near-death experiences. Finally, if it is truly your time to die, the spirit passes through that intense energy field, and that field cleanly and permanently severs the silver cord. Snap. That's the point of no return.
Now, a supernatural question pops up when we talk about this lifeline. Plenty of people practice spontaneous out-of-body experiences or astral projection, right? So what if you go exploring and just can't find your way back? Can that cord break by accident?
The really comforting answer provided by the text is a definitive no. You absolutely cannot get lost. The cord acts as a perfect, unbreakable tether right back to your physical body. The transcripts absolutely insist that it will never be severed accidentally. It literally only breaks when it is genuinely your predetermined, agreed-upon time to transition from the physical plane entirely. All right, Section 5, Group Departures and Greeters. You are not alone. This brings us to a slightly heavier topic. What happens when large tragedies occur, taking many lives all at once?
To explain mass casualties, like accidents, earthquakes, or natural disasters, the transcripts introduce a concept called group karma. The subject suggested that these souls actually agreed to share the transition. The reasoning provided here is that by going through the event together, there is a massive collective sharing of support. It ensures that no single individual has to experience the transition alone.
And this really highlights the overarching theme of safety that's just woven throughout the entire text. Whether you die in a mass event or entirely alone, the transcripts are absolutely adamant that help is sent immediately upon arrival. There's no wandering around in the dark.
The regression records indicate that there is often a brief period of confusion when you first arrive. It's an adjustment, right? However, greeters are always waiting to help orient you. These are souls with whom you have deep karmic ties, very often from past lifetimes. As they greet you, the disorientation fades away, and the broader memories of your overall soul's journey gradually begin to uncloud.
So as we wrap up this explainer on Cannon's remarkable compilation of transcripts, it leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. If we view the source material's conclusion as a genuine possibility, that death is just a painless, deeply familiar transition to a welcoming place, how does that change things for you right now? Perhaps by finally letting go of the profound fear of the unknown, we're freed up to live our present lives so much more fully. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep questioning and keep learning.